Today's video is going to explain the latest trend on most blockchains right now about crypto launchpads. We are going to focus on certain launchpads such as the DAO Maker, Polkastarter and DuckDAO and understand how they work and what contributes to their success. We are going to break it down into 4 questions. What is a launchpad? How do they work? Why are they used? And are they too good to be true? But why are we covering it? Launchpads are becoming quite an important staple of the crypto community so far, with a lot of people investing into these coins to be a part of the early investments. This seems to be the return of ICOs in the 2017 bull run, but this time in a somewhat more healthier and sustainable way. Not only do launchpads provide good returns, but they can also help you focus on doing your due diligence on each company you invest in within a launchpad platform, and I will explain the key differences between each launchpad as well. If this is your first time on the channel, then welcome to Blockchain Explained, the channel that pays you to learn about crypto. We will cover topics like blockchain terminology, DeFi and more. I will break down all the videos into what we are learning and why, how does it fit into crypto, alongside some examples, so you can see how it is currently being applied in the crypto space. Every week there's a new video alongside a quiz in the description, and if you get all the answers right, then you'll be entered into a raffle to win some free crypto. Make sure to follow @Blockchain Explained on Twitter to find out next Thursday if you are this week's winner. If you enjoy these videos, then I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button and drop a like so I can continue to create videos like these. A launchpad is a way of crowdfunding money for the masses in crypto. These launchpad companies will vet blockchain companies in advance in order to provide high quality companies and protect investors. This will provide an opportunity for token holders to buy at a lower price compared to when the coin is released on the market. You are essentially getting the same opportunity as a private investor or venture capital. It is important to recognize that each launchpad has their own unique vetting process, with some platforms being more stringent than others. Some launchpad platforms will also have a company to invest in once or twice a week, to some having one every day. So each platform is unique and works differently. Even though each launchpad works differently, the main concept is that they vet a company and you as a token holder get an opportunity to invest in them with a certain amount of an allocation, which we will get into now. Launchpads work by requiring you to hold their token. So in DAO Maker's case, you will hold the DAO token, and you can either stake it on their platform or provide liquidity via DAO ETH in Uniswap, and then you can deposit that token on the platform. The platform then recognizes how much DAO you have deposited into the platform. So if you have deposited 1,000 DAO, then you now possess 1,000 DAO power. Whereas if you provide liquidity with 500 DAO, then you will possess 1,500 DAO power instead. That is because when you provide liquidity, the amount of DAO you own is multiplied by 3, leading to 1,500 DAO from the original 500 DAO. The reason why my example was with 1,000 DAO in staking and 500 DAO in liquidity is because they cost the same. That is because if you have to provide the same amount of DAO in Ethereum too, it will cost the same, because if 1,000 DAO costs $4,000, then 500 DAO will cost $2,000. So you will also need to provide $2,000 in Ethereum too, which still totals to $4,000. But when you provide liquidity, your DAO is multiplied by 3, leading to that 1,500 DAO. Dependent on how much DAO power you possess, you are then delegated to a tranche. In DAO's case, the tranche system works like this. So as you can see on the screen, the more DAO you own, the higher you are on the tranche. And what that means is it multiplies your chances to win the allocation that you want. This means with our previous example, with 1,000 DAO, you are in tranche 2. But if you did provide liquidity, you now have 1,500 DAO, but you are still in the same tranche. As you can see, tranche 2 is 1,000 to 1,999 DAO power. But I'll explain why providing liquidity can be seen as the better option later. Let's say you want to participate to buy the XCAD token. It will require you to load your account with the minimum amount of USDC, which is how you enter an allocation, and then you delegate your power. So in this case, we would use our 1,500 DAO, but since there's no difference between 1,000 and 1,500 DAO, we would use our 1000 DAO instead to enter the raffle. If you then win the delegation, that 1000 DAO power will then be unavailable for 10 days, and these 10 days can decrease or increase dependent on the DAO maker's rules. Just only a few days ago, it was 14 days, but now it has changed to 10 days, so this can still change. So if another company pops up within 10 days that you want to invest in, you won't be able to use the 1000 power that you won with. But if you do lose the raffle, then the 1000 power is given back to you straight away alongside your USDC. But if you did win your ExaCAD allocation, now your 1000 power is gone for 10 days alongside the required amount of USDC. But the 500 DAO power that you had left over, you can now use that for the next allocation in the next 10 days. So that's why providing liquidity, even though it can be risky and you do have to understand the risks that come with providing liquidity, it can help you in gaining more power. The reason why your power is taken away for 10 days is to even the playing field between the average user and whales. As prior to this system, whales could possess over 10,000 DAO and could use their power for each allocation, which was unfair. But now it requires them to use their DAO for certain allocations, and when they do win, their power is locked away for 10 days like everyone else. Whereas PokerStarter requires you to hold a minimum of 250 polls, and each 250 polls equals one ticket, with another 250 polls meaning an extra ticket. So if you have a total of 1000 polls, you now have 4 tickets, so you have a higher chance compared to someone with 500 polls with 2 tickets. So this system works differently to the DAO because all you need to have is a minimum of 250 polls, which is less compared to the minimum of 500 DAO. And in their current system, you can only win one investment per week. So if you do own a lot of polls, some people may split it between their wallets to win more investments if you hold over, let's say, 10,000 polls. But the reason of saying that you can only win one investment per week is this is their way of evening out the playing field between whales and average users. The interesting aspect about launchpads is that they are always ever changing. This idea of limiting people to one win per week or losing your DAO power for 10 days was only a recent change in the past couple months or so. And this just demonstrates how launchpads are changing ever so often. So within a few months, this video could be void for the current systems for DAO and PokerStarter. However, the core principles of a launchpad about raising funds via crowdfunding will always stay the same, probably. But they are always trying to find new ways to even out the playing field. So now that we know how launchpads work and the different systems there are, but why are they good to us? Launchpads allow the average investors to get involved at private sales / seed sales, which means you get the same opportunity to buy a coin compared to a venture capitalist, especially as this can be where a majority of the biggest gains can be made. Some companies will launch to public sale with an initial market cap of $1 to $5 million, so it's easy to see how you can capitalize on this and make a good amount of money. And because launchpads do their own due diligence, it can sometimes make it easier to invest in a company since they have gone through a stringent vetting process with only few companies only being allowed on their website. However, this does not mean that these incubated companies aren't susceptible to a loss in capital, as crypto is still a very volatile space, and especially if you're investing so early into a company, then you are taking an even higher risk, which can lead to a loss in capital. That's why it is still ever so important to conduct your own research about the company, like reading the white paper, the history behind the team, and the aim of the company. Some launchpads, like the DAO Maker, do have their own research pages on each company, with detailed information such as overview, roadmap, revenue streams, team, investors, and tokenomics. And as great as that page is, it is still important that you do your own research because it develops your skills, and there could be some information that you wouldn't normally see on the research pages. So are launchpads too good to be true? Honestly, it depends on the launchpad that you use. DAO Maker only seems to have a great track record so far, with a lot of companies hitting times 10, and its highest at a time hitting times 318, which was the game My Neighbor Alice. But I personally wouldn't be surprised if X Academy beats that. The average all-term high return of interest for DAO Maker is currently at times 49. PokerStarter also has very similar results, with its current all-time high return of interest sitting at times 50, and its all-time highest being Affinity Chain with times 272. There are other launchpads which work in a different format, but they hold the fundamental concepts of holding a token and then either staking it or providing liquidity to give you access to different tranches to be eligible to enter the pre-sale of a token. There are also big differences between some of the launchpads. A launchpad like DAOmaker, for example, works with the companies. That's why you can call it an incubator scheme as well. Whereas with another launchpad crypto company, they could be just physically just launching it and not actually working with the team, which is different as well. Because with DAOmaker, those companies are getting support, whereas let's say a different launchpad, they're just launching them, no extra support from them, so it's different. And with the future of launchpads, it's actually uncertain what's going to happen with them in the long term, because they are still a very new recent thing, but they do seem to be a good change from the ICO craze in 2017. But after a company picks up pace, the entry price to buy tokens for a crypto launchpad can pick up, making it quite expensive. The price picking up is inevitable. That's why sometimes it pays to be the early user of an incubator, even though this does come at a high risk. Many more launchpads are being created now, especially on new ecosystems such as SoulStarter on Solana, CardStarter on the Cardano ecosystem, or ZillSwap on Zilliqa. I was going to end up covering DuckDAO, but this video became much longer than I expected, so I will probably cover DuckDAO and different types of launchpads in a future video. And that now brings the lesson to an end. So if you learned something new, then drop a like, subscribe, and flip that notification bell on so you're ready for your next crypto lesson. Don't forget to check out the quiz in the description too to earn some free crypto. Follow me on Twitter to find out if you are this week's winner.